guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos. Today I'm going to talk about my experiences aging while gothed and black. I am in my late 20s now, and I'm at an age where people my age are starting to age out of being goth or alternative. They're starting to grow out of their goth phase. And while I am all for people evolving, I'm all for people progressing in their lives. I have no problem with people no longer being goth. I have no problem with people no longer identifying as alternative. I have no problem with people, changing or whatever, as long as they're not doing anything to hurt anybody. I have no problem with it. I'm all for it. But I've noticed this trend, and I don't know if it's new or not, but I notice now that I'm seeing more and more people come out and just say, hey, I no longer identify as goth, hey, I no longer identify as alternative, because their interests have changed over the years. Their music interests have changed, their circle of friends have changed, their careers have changed, their religion, maybe they moved to a different country, maybe they are with someone that doesn't accept them and they're trying to make their relationships work better. There are so many different reasons why people may choose to no longer identify as goth or alternative, and I don't have a problem with that, as long as you're not doing anything to hurt anybody. But what I do have a problem with is once they no longer identify as goth or alternative, they start to embody the self-hate ideologies because they're cringing at their former selves, they're cringing at their past selves, and anytime they see anybody that has a similar style or take that reminds them of their younger selves, they have something negative to say, or like I've gotten to a point where I've had to stop talking to some people in my circle because I assumed that I was in a safe space being around mostly alternative and goth people of all walks of life and such. Like I assumed that I was in a relatively safe space, and that I wouldn't have to deal with some of the ignorance that I would have to deal with outside of alternative spaces. But it be your own people. I'm trying to tell y'all, it be your own people, okay? People who no longer, I won't say all, but people in my circle, I would say, who no longer identify as goth or alternative are now starting to embody some of those same ignorant and hateful ideologies as ignorant normies have, because they're cringing at their past selves, because they have a hate towards their younger selves expressing how they used to express themselves, because trauma, abuse, whatever, somebody made them feel uncomfortable expressing themselves in that way, and now they're projecting it towards others in younger generations, and it's so problematic. I recently saw a post of a YouTuber I followed for years. She posts lots of makeup videos, and which are really great. I'm not gonna say their name, but she recently made a post that was like, hey, I no longer identify as goth, I'm embracing my culture and my heritage, and I still like these things, but I'm evolving and I'm kind of moving away from that. So if you follow me for goth related content, then you're going to be disappointed, because I'm no longer going to be sharing things related towards that, because I no longer identify as it. And I thought, okay, cool. But then I saw people in the comments like, thank goodness you grew out of that phase, you're getting too old for that. Well, I wasn't gonna say anything, but it's about time. Well, I don't want to be rude, but I just felt like it's gone on for too long. And then there were people who are like, yeah, you know, I had to stop when I was in my mid-20s too, because now I'm middle-aged. Have you ever seen a 50-something-year-old goth? Not a pretty sight. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen 50, 60, 70-year-old goth people, and they look amazing. Why are you... Because you don't feel comfortable being goth as you get older, because it's seen as a youth-based subculture despite being around for over 40 years. Like, why are you telling people that they don't look good as a goth as they get older? Because you don't feel comfortable looking that way as you get older. Like, that's the problem that I have. And there have been times where I have found myself venting about my experiences, about how people react to me being goth or alternative in any way, and people will say things to me that are just so dumb that I just stop talking. Like, I'll be talking about, oh, I was on the train and this guy is like telling me to smile, and I didn't want to, because how dare you tell me what to do with my own face, and, you know, blah blah blah. And then they'll say something like, well, maybe it's because you're goth and you look really intimidating, and black people already have this stereotype of having this attitude problem, so, you know, maybe he was trying to make you look more feminine. Have you ever thought about that? And I'm like, no, because that's completely invalid. That doesn't make any sense. Like, and that's not my problem if he finds me intimidating, if I'm just standing there minding my own business and not interacting with him in any way, shape, or form. Like that, there's so many scary things that could happen on public transportation, or just in general in the public, and me looking like a weirdo and minding my own business is not one of them, is not grounds for people to bother me. So I don't get that. Or I find myself talking to certain people about experiences I've had in the workforce, how people have made up rules and make them apply to me, and then say that I'm in trouble for breaking the rules when there either wasn't any rules established beforehand, or they just did not exist in the employee handbook and they changed it and made them apply to me specifically, and then like say, hey, you broke this rule. And I would be talking to people about my experiences with people mistreating me in certain situations, and people would be like, well, you know, I don't like what you're wearing either, so I don't blame them for treating you like that. Or people would be like, well, if you look like a normal person, if you tried wearing natural makeup, you know, you wouldn't have those experiences or whatever. And like, it just doesn't make any sense to me, because anytime anybody has ever said anything to me about times that they've been mistreated, I've never thought about giving them crap about not being alternative, you know. So I don't get why it's socially acceptable to give me crap for being alternative, especially if those people are supposed to be my friends, especially if those people know what it's like to be treated this way because they are an alternative person or used to identify as alternative but have since changed. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then you know, people will say things like, you know, you're getting older, don't you think it's time for you to like grow out of this phase? Or I don't really get why you don't stop doing that. And it just does not make sense to me. It just doesn't compute, because even if I did look like a regular person, I would still have the same interests, I would still have the same hobbies, I would still have the same art, I would still like the same things, I would still be the same person. And even when I am in a professional environment and I look more neutral than I do now, like, people are so able to pick up on certain vibes. There were different points in my life where I legit tried to look like a regular person, like before I shaved my sides, before I had a mohawk, before I started dyeing my hair, before I shaved my eyebrows, before I started getting into makeup. You know, like, I actually wore like red lipstick all the time and just like a little bit of eyeliner, and I had natural eyebrows, so I wasn't drawing them on every day. Like, I straightened my hair all the time. Like, I look like a relatively normal person for all inclusive purposes, and I would still deal with certain things And even if they're not directed towards me, I would see other people being ignorant towards other alternative people, and it would just be like, wow, that's really how you feel? Okay, I see you. And I just don't get it, because I would never think to, like, if somebody told me that they were being mistreated publicly, they were being catcalled or whatever, I wouldn't think, well, you know, have you ever thought about not looking like a basic bitch? And maybe you should try getting some tattoos, some piercings. Have you tried not wearing pink lipstick? Maybe you should try purple or black instead. You know, maybe if you dyed your hair something interesting besides brown or blonde, you know, maybe try something a little crazy like orange or green or whatever. You wouldn't have those experiences because people would be more intimidated by you. You're not intimidating enough, because that sounds ridiculous and it doesn't make any sense. That's what people sound like to me when they say things like, you wouldn't experience these things if you weren't Goth, or it's bad enough that you're black, why do you have to add on Goth to it? And I'm like, first of all, it's not bad to be black, so yeah. And then second of all, I didn't choose to wake up one day and decide to be Goth and add on extra oppression to myself more so than I already have. The choice that I have in being Goth is, do I express it outwardly and proudly and be happy with myself and enjoy the reflection that I see in the mirror every day and be true to myself? Or do I hide and pretend to be something I'm not, to try and appease other people and live my life for others? Like, that is the choice that I have in being Goth. You know, I can pretend to be something I'm not, or I could express myself the way I see fit. And then there is this assumption that alternative people are dumb, are idiots, are unprofessional. And, you know, like when I say I have like certain experiences dealing with work environments or coworkers or employers or whatever, people be like, well, you have to dress more professionally. You can't look like that going to an interview. And I'm like, I'm not at an interview. I'm at a cafe having a conversation with the idiot apparently, because they don't know that I don't have common sense, that I wouldn't look like this going to a job interview, that I'm on my own time and I can dress the way that I want on my own time. I don't look like this when I go to job interviews. And people be like, well, you know, you can't look how you want when you go to job interviews. You have to like look more professional. I'm like, I do look professionally. I dress professionally. I do light makeup. My hair isn't super flared up and spiky or teased or whatever. I'm not wearing black lipstick to a job interview. I'm not wearing a band t-shirt and a black skirt and some platforms or whatever to a job interview. Like, I'm not dumb. I don't have any visible tattoos. I don't have any body piercings. I don't have any body modifications that I need to hide or cover up. I currently have not dyed my hair. I've not bleached or dyed my hair in over 3 years. The only time I have color in my hair is either I'll use hair wax or I'll put like yarn braids in as a protective style every once in a while. But yeah, no. And like the older I get, the more ignorant people get, and it's just, I don't know, it's weird. I don't get that. I just want to say, like, it's okay if you no longer identify as Goth or alternative, but don't project your insecurities about being Goth, about being alternative, onto other people. Don't try and discourage people from expressing themselves the way that they want because you no longer feel comfortable doing so. Don't try and piss on other people's parade. You know, don't tell people that they're not going to look good as they get older. dress the way they want. Stop telling people that they're not gonna look good as they get older with tattoos and piercings and stuff, because there's plenty of senior citizens walking around looking fabulous with all of those things that you hate and more. Stop perpetuating this thing that's like being alternative is a youth-based thing. It's something that kids do as teenagers, and as they get older they grow out of it. And that's the case for a lot of people, but not all. And I feel like there are certain people in my life that are still waiting for me to grow out of my goth phase and, you know, start being normal. Like, there are certain people in my family that are waiting for me to stop listening to rock music and just start listening to hip-hop and R&B and rap music, which I'm not a huge fan of. There are certain people who are waiting for me to stop shaving my eyebrows. There are certain people who are waiting for me to grow out my sides and stop having a mohawk. There are people who want me to cover the little tattoos I do have that are only on my stomach. There are people who are waiting for me to finally come around to wearing natural makeup or whatever. And it's not always outsiders. It be your own people, okay? It do. And when I say that, I mean it be fellow alternative people that are projecting this type of hate onto me and others. And I feel like it goes doubly because of my race as well as my age. So I just like want to post this to say, like, stop doing that BS, okay? Like, if you no longer feel comfortable being alternative and expressing yourself as an alternative person and just looking like an outwardly alternative person, if you decide you want to get your tattoos covered and take out your piercings and, you know, dye your hair a natural color, grow out your sides, wear natural makeup, whatever, for whatever reasons that you want to, then by all means go for it. But don't, you know, take that as an excuse to project that level, that type of self-hate towards other people and discourage other people from getting into the